about going to the local dirt track.
Right.
Now maybe you'll say, oh, let's go check it out. Or,
Man, that is cool. I want to put
Yeah.
my name on that car. We saw everything after Days of Thunder. We saw every type of product you could ever imagine advertised on those cars at that level.
How many times did you see people with the NASCAR jackets? You never see, all the
Right.
the fake. But I mean, the point is, it's just it brings everything to light, and it's so exciting that it's something different.
It is.
I'm really excited.
The fact that it's going to the big screens, not straight to DVD,
Yeah.
where you can
Yeah,
pick it up at $5 at the local.
Yeah, we're not talking about B actors here. We're
Right.
talking about A actors here.
We're talking big time stuff. This could be a big thing for our sport, and I hope that it is.
Me too.
I hope this does for dirt track racing what Days of Thunder helped spur for NASCAR.
Me too. That's where we're going with this. But
this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. I mean, you look at everything we've talked about, the conversation that we've stirred up here. Just imagine what the conversation is going on in mainstream society that isn't associated already with dirt track racing.
Well, now hold on. Trading paint. Well, aren't most of these cars powder coated? I'm just saying.
Yeah, the chassis are powder coated, but the aluminum's technically painted.
Is it really?
Wrapped?
Yeah.
I thought that was powder coated.
No, it's paint.
I don't know.
Thank you for the
That's
informative bit.
That's why if you scratch it with a key, it comes off so easily. So.
Well, now I'm on board.
I think this is going to be a fun thing. I hope it comes to our area. I hope this isn't just something centered in a regional.
I think they're going to strategically place it in places more like this.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. You'll see this, obviously in the big racing cities and the major, but I hope it comes to the communities around us and out west, because that's obviously going to be set down in the south. There's going to be a big thing down there, but awesome. I think this is a good deal. I heard about it honestly, when I heard this movie was coming out, and I read that John Travolta was the driver and the star, I said,
well, I'm not going to lie to you.
This is not going to work.
When you put that little thing on our Moxie chat group, and I'm like, and I just kind of flipped through it, I'm like, I'm not even going to look.
You know what?
That's exactly what I did. I'm not going to lie.
No, and I know. I believe you, because here's what happened. I saw that thing for 2 days on Facebook before. I saw that. I saw a picture of a late model and John Travolta, and I said, you've got to be kidding me. Not going to happen. Not going to be successful. I opened it up, and I read it, and I said, wait a second here. Well, there's some big names in this deal.
Well, that's why I ran these off, because I start looking through a thing. I'm like, oh, this actually is
I
something.
read the storyline. I thought, okay, what is it? This isn't what I thought it was going to be. This has got some real potential. I think it's going to be a good deal.
I do, too.
It's going to be fun.
I'm excited to watch it.
Considering John Travolta is one of the lead characters, I already know I can convince somebody to go with me.
What's his name?
It's not a dude.
Oh, sorry.
See,
I know
she's got a thing for John Travolta. I got a thing for
John Travolta.
I got I got a thing for Shania Twain. So I mean, hey,
okay.
And I like racing, so I know who
Wow.
I'm going to the theater with.
That's a full night.
Yes, it was.
No, widescreen's not happy with me, but
It's crew chief signs.
Yeah.
well, I am number one.
I think I have got that from you before.
We get it
Back-
like every
back when
show
we were-
2 or 3 times.
Back when you and I were crew chiefing.
Yeah, I think I did give you the middle finger on 1 or 2 occasions.
That's all right. It's
Back before I grew up.
Yeah, we weren't even driving. We were doing that to each other.
I like the spirit. I like it. Play
I was
through.
just telling him he was the best crew chief out there.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I've moved
I don't
on.
believe you. I don't believe you.
Let's have a wiring contest.
Oh, God, you'll win. Have you seen the wiring this guy does? I know
Phenomenal.
we're totally off topic.
Phenomenal.
This guy,
I've seen yours. I know it's good, but I'm not going to lie. This dude's got you beat, buddy.
dude, he kicks my hind end and then some.
Yours is really good wiring. His is artwork.
Well, it's because I
Yeah.
used to build street rods.
He's done a lot. You've done it just on modifieds. He's done on every kind of car you can think of.
Exactly.
$500,000 32 Fords. You have to hide everything and be very intricate with everything. That's all there is to it.
So what I'm hoping is I can get him to build me a $500,000 hot rod for about a $35,000 budget.
Oh, okay.
I think we can make something happen.
Yeah, it might look funny, but we'll work on it.
Okay, we'll build
You
it.
know what the best part is?
Huh.
Bondo and
We'll build it one
paint
piece at a time.
is cheap.
Yeah,
We'll build it one piece at a time.
it might be unusual, but hey, we'll get through it.
It'll be like that GTI Hornet we had out at the Speedway this year.
Well,
That's a factory paint
yeah,
job.
that's a fact. It's called the Harlequin edition. They're very rare.
They
actually
come
came
out of the factory, and with the funny thing about that is that car, when you look at the titles, and it's got like 8 different colors on it.
Yep.
Every panel, the doors are different colors, the roof's a different color, the hood, the trunk, each quarter fender or quarter panel, all different colors. Those cars will be registered as one color, and I think it's depending on what color.
It's white.
No, I think it. Don't quote me on this, but I'm 99.9% sure it's the color of the driver's door.
Okay.
Whatever the color of the driver's door is how that car is registered with the DMV as the color.
Yeah, they call it the Harlequin edition. It's really rare.
It is.
Then why would you make it a race car?
Well, they probably made it a replica of it.
No.
What?
That is a real. No, that's the real deal.
There's like 1,500 of those in the world.
Well, there's $14.99 that aren't race cars. The one that is.
Oh gosh.
It's crazy.
Oh man.
I was kind of getting into that whole discussion about the driver and the crew chief. I was having fun with that. I'm still thinking about that, but I want to talk about. We're going to talk about the other article that we read throughout the week, or you guys were supposed to read. Did you?
What's reading?
Which one? Hold on.
Look at your notepad there.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I read it. The one about Jason Figures. How do you guys say it? Because I've heard it both ways.
I'm not 100% sure.
That one.
The Jason Figures and the cost of racing, how he thinks that dirt late models is at a crossroads. You read that article? Okay. You need to bring it up. You're not doing your homework. You get your name on the chalkboard.
That's fine. I'll go to the principal's office later.
Well, we all know that the cost of everything bounces around so much.
Well, what I found interesting about this particular article, they were talking to Jason Figures, who they own a chassis they Figures race cars. He talks about how dirt late model racing is at a crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
And the crossroads being that of the local level versus the national level. And he said some really interesting things in there. Do you guys have that up yet?
Yeah. But you start reading through it, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, yeah, it's expensive. But he says right there, he breaks it down in a couple categories here.
We've talked about safety in the past.
We have, and it is expensive. We will not disagree that safety is expensive, but here's the worst part about that whole thing. The safety equipment is out of date. He says it right there. And yes, you can put more technology into the safety of these race cars. The race cars and the bolt-ons. Look at what Eldora is doing. It takes us back to that conversation we had with the duties.
Right. Well, and that's this, and I'm glad you said that, because this conversation here reminded me a lot of that conversation we had, in the fact that he's talking about. He brought up safety equipment.
Yeah.
You can't put a price on that.
No.
They could charge whatever they want for that stuff, and you're gonna have it.
But this puts it in perspective with what Eldora is doing with that seat that has to be 39.2 or whatever it is.
Right.
There's only 2 or 3 manufacturers out there,
right.
And they're insanely, quote unquote, insanely expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense when you compare a Butler built seat to one of those seats that is that rating.
Mm-hmm.
The construction on them is completely different. I mean, a Butler's like a shell, basically. The low grade Butlers are like shells, but then you get into the other seats, and they're they're tube constructed seats.
Right.
They're going to hold you in better. I get that. You look at the motor packages. I mean, IMCA is sitting there with the 604 crate package. That's great, but when you start talking open dirt late model racing,
mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that if you want to, you have to run an open motor package. 700 horse ain't going to cut it anymore. And listen to what Dan Dybel said. He said, he had that huge Ford motor in his late model. He went down to Arizona and got passed by, I think it was Mars or Pierce.
Yeah.
Like he was standing still. And
right.
They've got 900,000+ horse motors.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just.
While we get into this discussion, can you post that link up on Moxie Meeting Promotions Facebook page? I know it's in on our private chat. Can you post it up there so people can read it with us and
sure.
and look at it? There's a lot of interesting points.
Well, I see they're talking about the shocks. The shocks have come such a long way, but they can't open up the suspension rules. Should they? and go back? Should they go forward? It's quite interesting.
It is, and he's talking about how far separated the local dirt late model scene is versus the national.
Sure.
And I know we've talked about it a little bit. We've had that discussion, even talking with Justin Duty especially, is when I started thinking about that, because I guess you don't really think about it when you're not out there on the tour like Justin was, or you're racing against the best of the best. When you're racing regionally or in your area, it is what it is. You've got your stars, and you've got your rules, and everybody's doing pretty much the same thing to be on top. Then you talk with Justin, and you go back there and do what he did, and then you read this article, and you start realizing that national scene, those big national touring series, Lucas, World of Outlaws, all the
Sure.
Southern All Stars, all those guys, they're so far ahead of the game.
Like he was talking about the house cart rocket, giving him a load number with using a spring smasher. If you don't have that equipment,
Right. They're doing things now almost, and this is the problem. This is the problem with that. As good as it is for performance, for a great show for the fans, and great handling race cars, the cost that comes with that.
Yeah, the little guy can't do it.
Exactly. The average guy can't go out and do
No.
what you see Mars and Bloomquist and Moyer and Davenport and Owens. I mean, those guys are in such an elite clique. They're truly are in a league of their own.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start thinking about how far separated they are from the local or the regional even to the national scene, this article I found very interesting.
It's much the same in any type of racing as well. They've got racing has come to a point where a regular guy can't get into a lot of professional sports anymore.
Right.
Even drag racing, whatever we're talking about, it's the same everywhere.
It is. But what do you do to control that? This is what Jason Figures is talking about. What do you do? What rules package do you put together where you stop this from getting out of hand? Because it is.
and that's where you look at what IMCA is doing, with what USRA is doing. Let's take USMTS and UMP out of the equation. Well, you can add UMP back to the equation, but take USMTS.
You've got to take them out. Those guys
are so close to being a big block modified. It's not even funny.
Right, but here's the thing about that: it's a great series. It's an awesome show.
I love watching
the cars
it.
are fantastic, but that is bad for the sport. In the long run, that type of deal is bad for the sport because of what it's doing for the cost.
Exactly. And here's the thing: is you look at IMCA. Whether your name's Kyle Strickland, you're the most winning driver of the year in modifieds in IMCA, or you're your local racetrack driver, one of the guys we see every week at Willamette Speedway, Cottage Grove, Banks, wherever. You're on the same rules package. You're on the same tire.
Right.
You can have the same stuff. Now, what's going to limit that is your creativity, because I'll tell you what, there were some things that I was creative about on modifieds that we didn't end up doing to the cars, but I'm sitting here going, we can do this. We can do this.
Well, and I'm glad you say that, because just now Gray Ferrando hits us up on the Square Trucking chat line. While there are things that are good about IMCA, there are things that a lot of people don't like, some of the stuff they do.
Mm-hmm.
I know why they do it. I understand why they do it. Sometimes it's not the best, but it is what it is. But there's a lot of good that comes out of it. And Gray says IMCA does a pretty good job of making it so you can go anywhere in the country and compete, which is true. And that's the good thing, because pretty much when you go to an IMCA show, everybody's going to have pretty much, for the most part, if you've got the best of the best, I mean, everybody pretty much has the same stuff.
Well, that's why I'm saying, I hate to get off subject, but pushing the Hornet thing with the IMCA, if they don't get this under control, there's going to be $20,000 Hornets.
Right, and
we're going to lose another class.
And there's got to be, like you said, there's got to be some kind of unification at that level, and that's a prime example.
And we're at that point right now with the street stocks.
We are.
Yeah,
we are.
We've talked about that. That's out of control.
We have talked about it a lot, and like I said, I do believe you're going to see that class in our area. I'm talking about just regionally, locally in our area. You're going to see that street stock class split. You're going to see it develop into an IMCA-type stock car with a rules package that will benefit those guys that want to race that type of car. Then you're going to see the guys that stay in the street stock levels with the Camaros and the cars that aren't going out and buying chassis cars. You know what I'm saying?
A purpose-built race car.
I'm telling you, I really see that, and I might be completely nuts.
No, I agree with you 100%.
But I think that's what's going to happen to that class in our area.
Actually, I hope it does, because then we either have an entry level class again, or you'll have